Well, as mentioned, President Trump's pick to lead the FBI will soon testify on Capitol Hill. Christopher Wray will face the Senate Judiciary Committee for his first confirmation hearing. Lawmakers are expected to press him on his background in the Justice Department and as a prosecutor. They'll also make sure he's committed to serving the agency's best interests and not those of the White House. Ron Hosko is with me now from Washington. He's a CBS News security analyst and former FBI assistant director. So, Ron, I suppose with all this turmoil going on at the White House and with this backdrop of the Russia investigation looming, why do you think Donald Trump picked this guy?
Well, my hope is that he picked him because he has a biography. He has the right experience. He presumably has the right temperament. He has other people speaking up on his behalf that make him a good candidate for the FBI and, frankly, someone who is willing to take on this job in this highly politicized environment that one could say cost the job of his predecessor.
Yeah, in fact, that's exactly the case. The president abruptly fired the former FBI director, James Comey, after allegedly demanding his loyalty. That was the story. He invited him to the White House and repeatedly sort of asked him for loyalty in different ways. How do you think that will impact Wray's nomination today? Do you think lawmakers will ask him questions about that? Do you think lawmakers will alter the way they ask questions because of that?
Well, I think unquestionably we will hear multiple questions about whether he was asked to pledge an oath of loyalty to the president. My supposition is that the answer to that is absolutely not. But I think that will be probed. I think it's certainly a legitimate basis for questioning. What are his expectations, Mr. Wray's expectations in his relationship with the president, with the White House, who he reports to? Certainly when you're talking about Chuck Grassley as the chair of this committee, Chuck Grassley is always pressing on the issue of FBI oversight by his own committee and how responsive the FBI is going to be to that oversight. So I think we're going to hear a lot of questions about relationships, between the FBI director and the DOJ, and how he sees, Mr. Wray sees, his chain of command, who he reports to, and if he senses that he is being pressured for political reasons to do something that the FBI or he ought not to do. What is his perception, or what is his belief about who he ought to report that to?
You know, typically we see the party that the president belongs to go a little easier on the president's appointees. But this is a background in which Republicans are really sort of being criticized for not being critical enough of the president. Do you think we will see lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, grill him as heavily as their Democratic counterparts?
I think we'll see the Republicans ask him some what should be obvious and hard questions, not just with regard to politics and how the FBI, fights to maintain its independence, how he, Christopher Wray, would act under difficult circumstances. But I think we'll see the Republicans press. I think we'll see Democrats very likely press harder. I do think we're going to see evidence of political agendas on both sides. And Chris Wray will be essentially the wall reflecting back. He's not going to be expected to answer to what is politically driven out of the mouths of a Republican or Democrat. So I think we're going to see somebody who is smart, who's experienced, and who's expecting to get those political questions in a way that we'll see him be very circumspect with regard to the Russia investigation, his engagements with the president so far. I think we're going to see somebody who's circumspect, and he ought to be circumspect and reiterate over and over again, the facts should drive the results. The facts and the law are what drives FBI investigations. It's not politics. And if he stays with that, I think there's going to be very little room for Democrats or Republicans to complain.
So if he is confirmed, is that what you think he will bring to the investigation by Special Counsel Mueller? What sort of impact do you think he'll have on that investigation?
I think the way it's defined today you'll see evidence of the FBI supplying the resources for Bob Mueller to do his work, supplying personnel to do the investigative part of this in conjunction with attorneys that we're already hearing about staffing Mueller's team. But I think he will, by and large, defer decision-making to Bob Mueller. That is Mueller's charter. That's his mission. To include, if prosecution becomes one of the avenues that they go down, you know, the FBI will supply the resources. They'll try to supply some of the technical and security infrastructure for Bob Mueller to do his work, and they'll stand back and let him lead that charge on Russia. There's a lot of other things going on in the FBI. We've seen evidence of it just in the last few days. Look at the terror charges in Hawaii, a pipe bomb in Oklahoma, and FBI response teams digging for evidence and potentially for bodies in Pennsylvania. They have a huge mission. There's going to be plenty for Chris Wray to do. I think it'll be interesting to hear his understanding of the FBI's priorities and how he might shape them. But there's plenty for him to do besides Russia.
Ron Hosko, that is a very good reminder. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.